I was thinking about two words today, empathic and empathetic. They both pretty much mean exactly the same thing, but one of those words has a much more positive connotation than the other. Empathic and empathetic. Can you guess which one it is? Up until this point, I used the word empathetic with much more frequency than the word empathic because it sounds like empathy. But when I break down each word, empathetic has the word pathetic within it, which has a very negative connotation, whereas the word empathic has the words empath and path within it, neither of which has a negative connotation, and one of which at least has a very positive connotation. And so I'm going to adjust my language and use the word empathic with greater frequency than the word empathetic because I believe it will be more effective when I convey ideas related to empathy. I try to choose my words very carefully in conversation because I think in terms of outcomes. And generally, when I have a conversation with a person, the outcomes that I want are either that I persuade them to agree with a certain idea or that I am enlightened by them with new information that I didn't previously have. Both of those are good outcomes. A negative outcome would be that which is derived from a conversation in which two people approach it with the idea that there can only be one winner and one loser. This zero-sum game can work in the short term. It feels good to get that dopamine hit when you own somebody else in a conversation, when you make them submit to your ideas because you've pushed them into a corner and they have no other choice. It feels good to make people feel bad sometimes, but the long-term outcome of such a conversation is not generally the long-term outcome that either party wants. Now, I am not one to restrict other people's language in any way. You should use any word that you want at any time you so choose, but you should think in terms of outcomes and context. A comedian could use what I might consider to be offensive language, but the context is one in which people want to be entertained and they come there with the expectation that they will be presented with challenging ideas that they may not agree with and uncomfortable ideas, but they're okay with that. They're actually paying for that experience. But in a conversation where a person knowingly uses language that they expect the other person to find offensive, the outcome is very different. The context is very different. And the response can be very different. So when I approach conversations, I think in terms of outcomes and I choose my words very carefully. And I hope that more people would do the same.